Lindsey Graham flattened for bizarre attack on proposed law reining in the Supreme Court. Senator Lindsey Graham's RSC opposition to proposed legislation that would tighten the almost non-existent rules governing how Supreme Court justices conduct themselves was flattened by one legal expert, with another MSNBC analyst outright calling the South Carolina Republicans' response bizarre. In his column for MSNBC, Stephen Bannon heaped praise on Democratic Party-sponsored legislation that would make the justices subject to the same type of ethical guidelines lawmakers and government employees have to follow. As he explained, the Senate Judiciary Committee's proposed Supreme Court Ethics, Recusal, and Transparency Act would compel the jurists to set up a code of conduct, tighten financial disclosures, and bolster recusal requirements for justices. With NBC News reporting that the legislation got out of committee by a party-line 11-10 vote, with Republicans balking, Bannon cited Graham's objection, where he complained the bill would impact conservative justices like Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito, who have been under fire for suspected egregious ethical conduct. Helping lead the charge was Senator Lindsey Graham, who declared during the proceedings that the legislation represented a bill to destroy conservative court that he and the rest of the GOP have worked hard to build. Bannon wrote before adding that Graham's rationale appeared bizarre. To hammer home his point, he cited MSNBC legal analyst Jordan Rubin, who pointed out, to state the obvious, the proposed law would apply to all Supreme Court justices, no matter which party's president appointed them, with Bannon contrasting that with Graham's recent assertion that the court needs to get their house in order. And yet, the same South Carolinian not only rejected the Democratic reform effort, he also insisted that lawmakers, who have oversight authority over the federal judiciary, steer clear of any kind of legislation on the matter. GOP senators are comfortable with ethics limits on lower courts, but the High Court and its dominant far-right majority must be left alone, he wrote. Rhetorically asking, what are Republicans so afraid of? He suggested during yesterday's process, GOP members clung to one underlying point. The justices must be allowed to police themselves without interference. Congress might have the authority to create new limits, they said, but that power must be ignored so that justices can decide on their own what, if anything, to do. However, as he noted, the Wall Street Journal recently reported that a plan among the sitting justices to police them themselves has stalled out, meaning it is up to the Senate to step in, which Graham should acknowledge. That in turn leaves senators with a choice. They can sit passively as an ineffective status quo continues to generate controversies that further undermine public confidence in the court as an institution, or they create sensible rules for the justices to follow, he wrote.